Hi there, do-it-yourselfers. Today we're going to be taking a look at PTC's line of engine air filters. It's important to check your air filter yearly and about every 15 to 30,000 miles, depending on what your manufacturer's recommendations are and the area that you live. If you live in a dustier, dirtier environment, gravel roads and things like that, you should probably inspect it more often. Here you can see we took the old filter out, and it's not the worst filter that I've seen, but it's definitely pretty dirty. It's got quite a bit of bugs and other debris inside, and all of these things cause restrictions to the airflow to the engine. The more restriction we have to the engine, the poorer its performance and fuel economy is going to be. And it can get so restricted to a point where the vehicle may not even run properly or run at all. So that's why it's so important to check these. Keeps your vehicle running healthy, and you can restore that lost power and fuel mileage that you might have from a restricted filter by getting a new one. PTC's filters look very similar to the OEM manufacturer's filter. That's what we're looking at here, is the factory filter there. But we will go ahead and just show an example replacement here on our F250 to show you how our new one compares to the old one and how good of a job PTC has done in mimicking that custom fit design for this particular vehicle. All their filters are going to be custom fit for the vehicle, so you can expect similar quality throughout their entire line. We'll begin our installation here underneath the hood. We're over on the passenger side. This is the air inlet to your going towards the engine there, and our filter is going to be located in the housing right here. Now on these filter boxes, you will have a meter here, and this meter is kind of like sort of like a vacuum meter. As the filter becomes clogged, it will draw this in further, and the more that the filter is restricted, the further down it's going to draw the diaphragm in there. And the green is the okay area. If you're kind of in the middle, you should consider replacement. And if you're in the red, you definitely need to service your air filter there, because it is restricting your engine's ability to draw in air. Now this device here does have a reset button located on it here. It has already been reset. The customer may have pressed that before they brought it in, or they just checked it and pressed the button there. When you press the button, that does reset it and let the diaphragm travel all the way back up. So if you don't service the filter, you will have to give it a little bit for it to readjust down to the amount of restriction that you currently have. So we're going to go ahead and open this up, just take an inspection of ours, but that is a good place to first check. Just give a quick peek here and see if you're showing any kind of restriction. Regardless if this still looks good, I would still recommend at least once a year or every 15,000 miles to just take a peek at your filter and just inspect the condition, because animals and stuff like that are a real thing. I was a service tech for a long time, and you wouldn't believe how many times I found dog food and other nests inside of these boxes from animals out there. So all we do then is just lift it up after we release our clips. Now, after we've got it pulled up, the entire interior filter there will pull out of there. Want to be a little careful. We don't want to pull up too hard on that, because you can't actually break the little baffle. It is designed to flex, but it only has so much. So just don't stress it further than you need to, just enough to get the filter out. And we can see it is a fairly dirty filter. You know, it's got quite a bit of dirt and debris built up inside of there. Per the gauge there, we hadn't really caused too much of a restriction on the engine yet, but again, if that was recently reset, then we wouldn't be able to see that there. It does look like it's dirty, but it's not the worst thing ever. I mean, there's quite a bit of bugs and stuff inside of there. This filter, I would say, it's worth replacing at this point. It is fairly dirty. And the main reason for replacing this filter is to allow as much air that the engine is trying to draw in, because if we can give it as much as it wants, that's ideal. You'll get the most power and fuel economy out of your vehicle that way. If this is restricted and it's not allowing as much air as the engine wants in, it is going to reduce your power and as well as your fuel mileage. It's also going to be better on your engine to have this nice and clean. It's just less load on it, trying to draw in the air that it needs. It'll burn a little bit cleaner. And there's less chance that the filter can become so restricted that it could potentially actually draw in through the filter at that point if it gets so restricted that it's just starving and it gets worn out on the filter material that it could break and start drawing that in. So we want to get that out of there. This is what our old one looks like though. Let's go ahead and grab our new one and compare to see how it is as far as size, because when you're going to replace a filter, size is usually one of the most important things in being close to what a factory one is. Because if it's a little bit off, you usually have a hard time getting the covers to snap back down and things like that. So we'll give a quick comparison here to our new one. And it looks very similar. So it looks like they've done a good job on giving an OEM style filter here. It looks like they've matched it very well. We even get a new foam attachment there, just like on the other one. So yeah, that all looks very good. The pleats for our material is going to be molded into the upper and lower sections there to hold it, and there's also a cage on the inside to prevent a restricted filter from sucking through like we were talking about. So it seems like it's a well-built filter, just like our OEM one there. So I say let's go ahead and just insert this one now so we can get it installed. So we'll simply just lift up. The foam was in the back on the previous one, so we need to make sure we put this one there. And if you look down inside, you can see there's actually an opening there where that foam goes. So it's important that you have it in the proper orientation for it to work the way it's designed to work, and also for our cover to be able to fit back on here easily. Let's see if we can't get that in there. The new foam and stuff, it's a little bit stiffer than what our factory one was. So it's a little bit more difficult to insert it. But just kind of compress that down, take your time, and you should easily be able to get that to sit down in there. And we're just making sure that it's fully seated there. If we look at the old one real quick, you'll see that there's a couple of those little alignment circles there. So I was making sure that we get those down into the holes down below, so that way we're able to install our lid. So I'm just checking to make sure we've got those fully inserted. There we go, that felt good there. We'll now center the top piece on it, just like that. Make sure it's down on both sides. Feels like we're still stuck a little bit. There we go. And then once you get it down in there, we'll just latch each of our connections. And then just make sure you've got all 4 of your clips installed. There is one hidden here just under the 6.7 liter marking there, so don't forget that one down in there. After you've got it all snapped down, I recommend just starting the vehicle, making sure everything's good and you don't have any check engine lights. With a filter replacement like this here, it's usually pretty straightforward. So at this point we should be good to go. We'll just run the vehicle real quick, make sure that everything's good. And that completes our look at PTC's line of engine air filters.